Today is day 5 of the July 92 7-day retreat at Springwater. We cannot possibly, all of here together, keep up with all the questions and things that have come up in meetings, group and individual. A lot of things going on this morning and last night which I had no time to write down. Most of it. And we still have some questions left over from yesterday. But it's an amazing thing that even though I may not have written it down, sometimes these questions do enter into the talk anyways, or what has been discussed or looked at or found to be a problem. In ways which I don't understand how things do come up. Memory is operating, there's no question about it. Here is a bunch of questions about the same topic, so I'll read several of them and we will go into it. When feeling something strongly, I find it very helpful to express it to others. Can expressing one's feelings to others become another escape from really being directly in touch with what is going on in oneself? This all happened in a group. Why should I want to remain with what is happening if it is an unpleasant feeling? I do want unpleasant feelings to go away, to be free of them, not to stay with them. On and on. What happens when we express feelings to others? If someone is really listening carefully, it may help. But can't it also continue the story, the drama, the pathos about myself, to which I am so deeply attached and for which I want support and attention? Is that an interesting topic to look at, this whole complex matter of expressing one's feelings? It's talked about a lot at present time. Not just talked about, it is done a lot. There are an ever-growing number of support groups for people who cannot afford to pay for individual help. And it's also more of a peer thing. It's not one person who knows and the others coming to this person, or as an individual coming to a person who has answers or a system with which to contact the problems. It is more being among one's own kind. So the question is a very acute one. What to do with the feelings, with my feelings? Strong feelings, painful feelings, hurt feelings. Feelings of abandonment, of loneliness, of not being understood, of anger. Fearful feelings. Painful feelings of the many past trauma that we may have gone through being evoked. Feelings of despair, hopelessness, burden. I could go on and on. Does it help to express feelings that come up to someone else? We were looking at that. And not just to say yes it does or no it doesn't, but one has to try out. Does it help to tell someone? And does it partly depend on how that person to whom I'm talking is listening? Is the person listening or just waiting to tell me how she feels or he feels? Or waiting to comfort me? I may not want comfort, I would just want to tell somebody how I feel. Why do I want to be listened to? Why do I want to tell somebody how I feel? I have no answer. I'm looking at this right now. We're exploring together. Why do I want to tell somebody how I feel? What's going on inside? Is it that it is very murky inside? Something is going on. I don't like it. It sort of almost beckons to be looked at, to be expressed. Looking at it alone, it remains murky, I find. I get either drawn into the murkiness, into a depressive mood, can't quite see. Not wanting to feel this way, I try to find an escape of some sort. But if there's somebody there I can talk to, and the person really listens, let's take that. The person really is there to listen, not just to tell about themselves, or to correct, or to correct me, or recommend, or advise, or console me. Just listening, which is a tremendous thing, just to listen. The whole world, the whole universe is in that listening. So, I find a person who will listen. Then, does it help to put something into words, to make explicit what is sort of murkily implicit inside, hidden, not clear? I've never really looked at it, but somebody is there to listen, and maybe that makes it possible, by trying to express it, to come more in touch with it. Bring it to the daylight by expressing it. By putting it into words, I can look again more clearly at what's there through the explicit expression that's there. Now I've talked to this person, or I am talking, and I can look because something clears up with the help of words. And this person who may also sometimes supply some words because he or she is really listening and putting themselves into this, and maybe has gone through a similar thing, may have some words, and the words throw some light on what's going on. Is that why it is helpful to talk to someone? Together we bring something out of murkiness with the help of thinking and putting into words. And then looking again, is that really it? And maybe as one layer is expressed and looked at, other things reveal themselves underneath. And we look at those. That wasn't really the main feeling. The anger was there, but underneath we find as fear, and putting it into words and looking at the same time, not just talking about it, because then it becomes a heady, detached thing, not one of contact. So in expressing something, can the contact remain and be constantly reinstated, the direct contact, even though it's expressed verbally? I'll look and feel. Maybe say, no, this isn't quite it. There's something else there. And taking some time out of not talking and listening, feeling inwardly. And then attempting again to put into words. Is that helpful? Can that be helpful to us? Somebody else said, well, in putting things into words, how I feel, I just find it's another escape from contacting what I don't want to feel. So I talk about it. And that can happen. We can talk endlessly about how we feel and not be in touch with it. So, is it that we want to talk about it and have conversation and security and companionship in talking with another, but are not really interested in exploring what is going on with us? Maybe that is the case. Then can one acknowledge that? Maybe it happens when somebody asks a question of us. Can we ask the question of ourselves? What am I doing right now? Do I want support, pity, somebody to feel sorry for me? An ally? I feel angry about somebody, and nothing feels more gratifying at a time like that than to have somebody else share in this anger. Says, yeah, I feel the same way about this person. And then one goes on and on, maybe somebody else enters, and one has a third person who also feels, or maybe is drawn into this. He or she hasn't made up their mind yet how they feel about this person. But with two of us already feeling strongly, the third one is easily persuaded, because we always seek companionship. And sometimes the causes for it are a little bit dubious. What binds us together? Amazing thing that hate of someone else can bind us together. Dislike of someone else can be the link between us, which needs to be maintained by bringing more story about this person we don't like, or the groups of people we don't like. All of this is the beauty of it. It's all open to inspection, to fresh air and sunlight, to becoming aware of it. Maybe one of us will change the ongoing movement or the rut and ask a question. What are we doing here? And then will we feel this person has become an outsider, doesn't understand us? Or will we listen and look to find out more about ourselves? So, a very, very appropriate question. Is talking about my feelings just another escape from contacting what's there? One has to answer this oneself. And contacting what is there, does this always need another person? We stated at first how helpful it is when things are very murky, don't seem to get any place. Get so depressed I can't look at all, and somebody else listening or asking some questions helps in contacting feelings. But it's entirely possible to look at what is going on within oneself by oneself. I myself have often found this to be the most clarifying thing, to really let things unfold in the presence of my own questions. Why do I feel so upset? Is it because of this? And then quiet and let something come up. Yes, it is partly because of this, but there's something else going on. Well, what is this something else? And quiet again. And let something come up. Yeah, there's something like, but it's still not the whole thing. I still feel upset someplace. What is that? And so to sort of, with question and answer, and a long, quiet waiting in between for things to reveal themselves. Things do reveal themselves. And one has not involved a whole lot of people in one's story. And yet, sometimes if one shares together, maybe with several people who are intent on looking at the same feelings, exploring the same feelings, not just I'm there for you, but we're all looking at what one person brings up, then it becomes a common inquiry and not just my feelings. And it can be very helpful for different people to bring up what is seen, questions that they have, and this can loosen up a lot of stuff and bring it to clarity. So it can be very helpful to be in this together. And it can also be very helpful to do it by oneself. Maybe there's a place for both. We don't always have people around us who are interested in listening to what goes on in me or you. So then can we learn to be with it ourselves? And let us say it doesn't mean if you feel depressed or if I feel angry, I have to stay with this. Come hell or high water. It's good for me. It's good for me to stay with this. I mustn't go for a walk or to eat an apple or go to a movie or call up a friend. I must stay with this. Of course, I'm never talking about that. If there's sensitivity and some openness to how we feel, it'll go to the movie with us. Of course, we want to feel free and open and light, happy, energetic. That's a marvelous thing. To want to feel burdened all one's life is a sickness of the mind. To think that this is good for me, to suffer. And we do have those sicknesses too, that it's good for me to carry a cross, carry a burden, be the sufferer, be the martyr. One may have attached to one of those images as oneself, one's destination in life. And then of course one seeks out painful experiences and is glad in a way to carry those, because it makes a sense out of my existence which I have defined in that way, or which thought and conditioning has defined in that way, to be a sufferer. But most of us want to feel free of suffering, but yet we suffer. Why do we suffer? Why these feelings of pain and resentment, burden, stuckness? Fear of other people, suspicion of other people, or disappointment. Is it because we carry in memory what happened to us? And the memory has this uncanny ability to evoke throughout the whole body what was felt at the time one was made so angry or was so hurt. It's not just that the mental memory evokes responses in the body, but the body itself carries memory. The whole body is also a memory, a bank, and things can trigger everywhere. Feeling fright, rage. How are we going to meet that when it comes up? Do we have a choice? Whether we talk about it to someone else, explore it ourselves, the way I demonstrated it a little bit. Will we meet it? Be with it when it's there? Not so one can have grist for the suffering mill. We're excluding that now. If that's the case, one can look at that. But how do we meet fright? anguish. And to be very discerning whether talking about it is already a movement away into storyline, making myself interesting, or getting attention, getting support, which may be all very nice, but it's not touching fright or rage direct. How quiet, how still can one be with what's there? Not moving away and not grabbing onto it, not avoiding it, not latching on, adopting, judging, wanting to get rid of it. Nothing. No movement for or against. Just a very quiet attention to what's there. And even calling it now fright or anguish is too much. I'll put the words aside, because they already remind me of what fright is and what anguish is, or has been. Just to be bare bones, bare guts, bare nerves, bare organs. No separation, no one there to suffer it. Just bare attention. Try it out sometime. And it means a peeling away of what's not bare. Little layers of protection, explanation, rationalization. Oh, this idea, I can't bear it. Oh, I mustn't bear it. We have been brought up this way. I mustn't bear pain. I mustn't be afraid. But it's all right to feel that. It's an immense discovery, relieving discovery, that this stuff can be met completely, felt completely, and changed in the process. It's no longer what we thought it was or feared it would be or become. That's what happens when there's no division in a human being. Things change. Because most of our problems arise out of division and separation. Not wanting to feel what's there for fear of what it would become if I felt it. I have these very unreasonable ideas. All of us have been brought up this way. A little baby that's crying, a little toddler is encouraged to smile. Sometimes parents tickle their children when they cry to make them laugh. Because parents can't bear it. They have never been with it themselves either. With real pain or sorrow. Always try to find a way out because this is the way to do it. It's been like this. Get distracted. It's how we've believed it. It needs to be met. Oh, this too will pass. Don't worry. I remember one day waking up in a room in a hospital. I had a surgery, major surgery, and I felt terrible when I woke up. Really terrible. Anybody who's had surgery knows how you wake up from surgery. Tubes sticking in you and stuff like that. It was just awful. And the cheerful nurses would come in and say, "You'll be all right. Don't worry. You're fine. You're doing great." And it felt more horrible. And then this old doctor, he was about to retire. He had been the surgeon. He came in, sort of waddled in. And he said, "It's a miserable way to be, isn't it?" That fit. I didn't have to cheer up for him or pretend something. It was just like a mirror held up. A miserable way of being. I didn't have to tell him anything or put on a facade. So we have to become aware of all the layers of warnings. Don't touch. Danger. Stay away from fear or pain. And just see them as more conditioning, more ideas about what to do and what not to do. But I want to find out directly what is right living, right aliveness. And to my surprise, I find it is just touching what's there, being with it, even if it feels dangerous to touch fear or whatever, directly. The amazing thing is, a little while later it'll be gone. One may not even realize it's gone because the mind is now free. It passes or changes almost imperceptibly at a moment of no separation. You can say, wait a minute, I've been with things and they've gone on. People do say this. And I've also been with things which don't change, and you stay with it. Not as a sufferer or a martyr, but not denying what's there, and yet not incapacitated by what is there. We can do all kinds of things and yet not repress a feeling of anguish or pain. Memory keeps things awake about one's family, children, husband, whatever has maybe triggered the anguish, or place of work. Something about a friend, relationship. Why not keep awake to that pain? Whenever the thought arises, there it is. And if a hurt over something doesn't go away, what choice do I have but to be with it? If I expect it to go away, I'm already not with it. And if it doesn't go away, maybe I am not with it. Really, that's why it's hanging on. I can't do more than what I'm saying, because it is for each one of us to do. And somehow or other, we know what to do. I don't mean through knowledge, but there are times when there is no choice but to really face what's there, to let it be there full-fledged, without name, without knowing, without words. The whole thing, a huge live question mark of not knowing. And not expect a result. The result takes care of itself. Expectation is a step away. One can see that. It becomes obvious. What is the meaning in sitting long hours day after day? Why do people do it? Someone asked. I was also in a group. And the response from several of the people present was, well, one has to try it out. One has to see for oneself. It may mean different things to different people. Person said, I can't sit those long hours. Physically, it's not possible for me. So I'm just wondering, why do people do that? Why do we do it? And it's a good question to ask of oneself. It's always interesting to allow some of the motives to clarify. Sometimes motives don't arise easily. They're very deeply buried. Do I want something? Have I read that if the longer I sit, the deeper the enlightenment will be? One person here recently did a solitary retreat after a retreat. And he said it was very good to sit long hours. A lot of stuff that I've never have time to think about, to contact, to be in touch with, surfaced, whether I wanted it or not, the possibility to be with it, particularly after long days and hours of sitting. He said he sat about 6 hours a day. The mind did slow down and quiet down enough for things to be really looked at, sorted out, touched, thought about, put together, things coming together. So if one is interested, one needs to ask and can't do it oneself. Ask people who do long hours of sitting. What is going on? Because I'm interested. I want to find out. What does it do for you? So a person said, I'm interested in sharing this. So find out from each other what it is about long hours of sitting or walking quietly without communicating with people. Most of our communication, most of the time, is very superficial, on a very superficial personality level. Talking about others, talking about movies, talking about people, politics. And in this almost constant talking that we engage in, without sometimes even be aware that the mouth is moving most of the time, we're not quite in touch or out of touch with all the aliveness inside and out, and the wholeness of that, the undividedness of that, the holiness of it, if you will, wholeness, the aliveness inside and out, which has no separation to it, is maybe the only thing that can be really termed holy or sacred. Krishnamurti used to talk about the sacred. It is that state of being in which there isn't the roughness, the coarseness of my fears, my anguish, my rage, which keeps us enclosed and shelled in, separated from each other, at loggerheads with each other or at each other's throats. And that does not dawn for most people instantly upon entering into a quiet state, not talking, no conversation, no interrelationship. It takes a while for this churning mind to calm down. It's a fact. The other night I was engaged in reading something. It was past the time which I usually turn the light off. I had to keep on reading for another hour and a half, and the mind just keeps churning with it. Couldn't sleep for a long time, and there was a certain, the whole body, not just the mind, was now engaged. It took quite a while for that to slow down. And quietness, stillness, is not just the absence of speaking or the absence of noise. That's not the whole of it. That's the beginning of it. The surface of it is the absence of talking and the absence of unnecessary noises. It always sounds, obviously. And we also make sounds. Please, in this retreat, some people really felt intimidated, that they felt they couldn't do anything for fear of disturbing others. It's not like that. We make natural noises and opening doors and walking and Sometimes we drop a bowl of cereal. It splashes or bang pots and what have you, not to become neurotic about this. Either the one who's doing it or the listener of the noise. But the absence of unnecessary noise and no talking, no interrelating is just the beginning of stillness and silence. There is an almost infinite dimension to this silence, to this quietness. Which, in spending more time in quietness and silence and not talking, not moving at times, however long it is for each individual body, each body has different capacity to sit still and needing to move quietly. Quiet moving is also quietness. Have you walked quietly? By this I don't mean noiselessly, but really the mind just being as quiet as could be in attending to the footstep, the word, the changing of one room to another, the different light, the windows, just so quietly with everything. No one there doing it, it's just what's going on. And that there's no fear or anger or resistance. It's just quietness which pervades everything. You and me, and the floor, and the crows, and the birds, and the wind. That all is permeated by quietness. Even talking can be permeated by quietness. You could say, well now, wait a minute, does this mean now I have to come to more retreats? Well, find out. I am not saying what you have to do. Find out what you need to do. Very often there is some inner urge to do something, needing to do something. When I started this thing out, I went four times a year, I went to retreat. But the very first time I went to the center for an opening lecture, and then we sat for 2 hours afterwards or some time. And then on Sundays I would drive in and sit for 2 hours there with a talk. And then we'd drive home for 2 hours, but I still remember getting out of the car, opening the garage door. There was an energy that I had not experienced before. So the thing had some value in itself. There was something going on that had not happened with anything else I had done. It was not an energy of thought. I was surprised myself. Oh, and later we had a sitting group in our house. Once a week people came, and when those 2 hours were over and going upstairs, there was energy in sitting, not talking, being quiet, listening openly, without any extras. This bare attention or bare witness. Obviously energy gathers, which usually leaks off in the 10 directions. I've been very careful ever since leaving the Zen Center with its compulsory, pressurized sittings, not to put any pressure on anybody to sit, and also not to set examples, because that's pressure too. It was very interesting to me. I have to share this with you. Somebody came to this retreat, I don't know whether the person's still here, and said, I met so-and-so far away in another state at the other end of this country, whom I still remember from way back at the Zen Center. And if I remember right what this person told me, what he said, I didn't used to care for what was going on at the Zen Center either, or at least for much of what was going on. But then there I saw Toni, and I thought it must be all right, because she was taking it, or she was doing That was one of the reasons why I left. Because we influence each other. If somebody thinks highly of somebody, then what that person does has an influence if I don't watch very carefully to find out for myself what I need to do. That's why I left the center, and that's why I have not advocated people to sit. Yeah. People are sitting on their own. One needs to find out for oneself, doesn't one? Then there is something genuine. Then it's the right energy. Can some of the stillness of a retreat be taken back into daily life? Reminds me of a story. It's a German story about certain silly people. They built a tower, they forgot to put windows into the tower. It was dark in there. So I said, well, nothing easier than that. We'll take burlap bags, hold it in the sun, tie them up, bring them in the tower, and dump them. Nothing happened, of course. You can't take stillness with you in your backpack. But is it possible for the mind and body at any one time to wake up, first of all, to the noise we're making inside and out? The noise of wanting and comparing and participating and all the stuff. Wake up in the midst of our daily life to the noise that is going on, the churning. I gotta get this done. And listen not so much to the content of the noise, but to the motor churning noisily. And listen to that quietly meaning free from judgment, free from wanting to be rid of it, free from wanting the stillness of retreat. That's more noise. Just wake up and listen. Stop, look, and listen. The heartbeat, the breathing, the people around one. Look at them freshly. Maybe their drawn faces, or their facade smiles, or their genuine smiles, or their genuine worries. One's own concerns, to listen for a moment quietly. Is that possible in the midst of our daily life? The stillness at that moment being the absence of resistance or judgment. Or if the first thing one notices is one is caught up in resistance to do something. One hates to do it. I don't like to listen to that. Listen to it and allow it to unfold. Not I shouldn't be resistant, I should be free. That's more resistance to the resistance. But wherever we are, right then and there, for a moment, or however long, just be there, listening openly, attending, inwardly, outwardly, to what's precisely there, without wanting it to be otherwise. we will end here for today.